Hi, I'm Larry Puckett, the DCC Guy. Today we're going to take a look at a brand new product from SoundTraxx, and that's their new Blunami decoder. So just what does a Blunami do, or what is a Blunami decoder? Well, as the name implies, it's a standard Tsunami 2 decoder like you've seen for several years now. It has all of the features, functions, and capabilities of the standard Tsunami 2 in both the steam and the various diesel packages that they've been offering for a long time. In addition to that, as the blue part suggests, it has a Bluetooth transceiver built into the circuit board. Because of that, you'll be able to control whatever locomotive this decoder is installed in using an iOS app and that Bluetooth capability that's built in to your iPhones and your iPads. Now, unfortunately, it's not available in an Android format yet, but hopefully that'll be coming down the road. So, what I want to do today is give you a little bit more information about these decoders, the capabilities, and what you'll be able to do with them. And then we'll do an installation. So stick around, watch the video, and you'll find out more about the Blunami decoders. Okay, so what other features are there that make this so great? Well, one of the important things to understand about this is that you can still use this decoder in locomotives that you're going to operate on a DCC powered layout using standard DCC throttles. It just works the same way as you would with any other Tsunami 2 decoder on your model railroad. In addition, you can operate your locomotives on your DCC layout using the Blunami app on your iOS device. So that gives you a completely wireless capability for your locomotives, completely separate from your standard DCC throttles, but still using DCC as the power. In addition, you can put a locomotive with a Blunami decoder on a DC-powered layout and have full control using the iOS app, the Blunami app for it, and you will have all of the features and all of the controls that you would have on a DCC-powered layout. So you don't lose any of the features and functionality like you might on analog conversion on a DC layout. And because you can operate these using DC power, that means that you can use these with a battery. And you won't need any power on your rails whatsoever at all. Plus, you'll still have all of that DCC functionality. Now that has even further implications because it means that when you're using that iOS app to control this, you don't even need a DCC command station or booster because it's going to be entirely wireless. It's going to be powered by the DCC commands that are generated within the iOS app and transmitted to the decoder through the Bluetooth communications. And you won't need your DCC command station, throttles, any wiring whatsoever. You'll be able to use it out in your garden railroads, you'll be able to use it on your home layout, and you'll be able to use it without any DCC power at all. So that's going to be a real game changer as far as the way that we can use these Blunami decoders. So what I want to do now is let's take a look at how to install one of these, because they're only available at this time in a bare wire version. And that means you either have to install an 8-pin plug on here that you can plug into a standard NMRA 8-pin socket, or you have to hardwire these into your locomotive. Now, I did do a video, and I'll put a link to it above me here, that shows how to install an 8-pin plug on a decoder. So you could go ahead and do that and be able to install the decoder in locomotives that still have the 8-pin NMRA style socket. However, there's going to be a lot of locomotives now that you're going to want to install these in that don't have a socket at all. And so I want to show you how you hardwire these. And for that, I'm going to use one of the lifelike E6s. Now this locomotive does come with one of the 8-pin sockets, but I'm going to rip all of that out and show you how to hardwire these And the reason I'm using that Locomotive is it has plenty of room for installing the slightly larger decoder as well as a couple of speakers. Now, why am I going to use a couple of speakers? SoundTraxx is now suggesting that you use a 1.5 to a 2 watt speaker with these decoders, because that's what they put out. So I'm going to use a pair of Sugar Cube speakers in this Locomotive, and that's going to give me somewhere a little over 1.5 watts. And I'm also going to wire them up in series instead of parallel, because that's what SoundTraxx is now recommending that you do when you're using 2 speakers. Wire them in series, not in parallel. Okay, after that, after I've got the decoder completely installed, I'm going to go ahead and test it on my DCC programming track, because I want to make sure that I don't burn this sucker up before I do the rest of this video. And then on Monday, I'm going to come back with another video that shows you how to use the Blunami app on both a DCC powered track and also on a DC powered track using the iOS app. So let's go ahead and we'll get started with doing that installation. Before we go on, I want to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It's simple, easy, and free. All you have to do is hit that little red subscribe button, and when the little bell comes up, click on it and click all. Thanks now. Now previously, I have shown you guys how to install decoders in these various E-units. I did a video on that, and I will put a link to that above me here. I also did a video on how to replace the gears or the axle gears on these Locomotives trucks, and again, I will put another link to that one. I also did a video on how to lubricate locomotives, diesel locomotives, so I'll put a link to that for you as well. So that'll get you started, because the first thing you want to do is make sure that the locomotive is running great on a DC track. So get it running well on DC before you attempt to install a decoder anytime. And you want to make sure that it's well lubricated, running great, and that you don't have any broken gears or anything like that that's going to interfere with it. And since I previously have, as I said, have shown you how to install decoders in these locomotives, I'm not going to do it step by step. I'm just going to shoot through the important parts here and get you started that way. So I've already pulled the circuit board out, disconnected, and removed all of the old wires that I'm not going to be using. I've already taken the light bulbs here out of the front and replaced them with the little LEDs, and I've done videos on using LEDs for your lights on your locomotives, and I'll put a link to that one unless I've run out of the number of links that I can add. So I pretty much have shown you how to do this job in the past, but I want to be specific to the Blunami decoder. Okay, so what I've done then in preparation, like I said, I've got all of the wires here bundled up for the headlight. And I'm going to have a Mars light and a headlight on this locomotive. So I've got these 2 LEDs installed up front. I also have the red and the black wire that came with the locomotive. Red goes to the right truck, black is to the left truck. Same back here. These are the motor leads in this case. Red is positive, black is negative. I've already tested the locomotive using a 9-volt transistor battery and found that when it's attached properly, red to red, black to black, that the locomotive will move forward. So I've got that figured out. Now, here in the back, what I've done in order to prepare a platform for where I can install the decoder, I've already taken and attached strips of the double-sided foam tape that I use, the 3M double-sided foam tape. Got that laid out here already. And I took a piece of black 020 styrene, that's 0.020 inches thick, and I made cutouts because there's screws here that hold this massive body weight in place. There's 2 little old mounts here that are left over from the circuit board, and a third one back here. So I have to be able to go around those as opposed to cutting them off. So I made the appropriate little cutouts here for all of these little projections and for the screw holes. So what I'm going to, oh, and I also made a couple of cutouts for the 2 wires from the truck. So let's go ahead and pop this guy into place. Get these wires in here properly first. And I can drop that in and press it into place. And that double-sided foam tape is going to hold it in there without any problems. And I'll also use the double-sided tape to hold the decoder in place when we put that in. Okay, so there, we've got that set up. Now, the decoder is going to go right here on this platform, just like that. So that's going to be a very easy job when we get there. And I'll just put a piece of double-sided foam tape here on the back and put it down here on top of the black styrene mount. So that's going to take care of everything as far as the mounts go. And then we've got plenty of room back here for all of our wires. I'm also going to put a speaker right here next to it. So that's going to give me a speaker in the rear. And then I'm going to put one also up here in this depression just behind the cab. So as I said earlier, that's going to give me, this is rated at around 0.7, 0.8 watts each. So the two together is going to give me about 1.5 watts. And they're both 8 ohm speakers. And by wiring them in series, that's going to give me a total of 16 ohms. And it's better to go with 16 ohms than to wire them in parallel and giving you 4 ohms. That's one of the things that SoundTraxx has been warning people about lately, is to wire your speakers in series, get them at 16 ohms, 2 8 ohm ones together, instead of wiring in parallel, which would give you 4 ohms. And it's much better for the amplifier in the decoders to take 16 ohms instead of 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get this all set up, and then we'll start doing the actual soldering. Before we go on, I have one thing that I want to mention to you. And this is something I didn't say up front because I wanted to talk with the folks at SoundTraxx before I shared this little bit of information with you. Now, a few minutes ago in the video, I said that your 2 options are that you can hardwire this decoder yourself using these wires that come on it, or you can add an 8-pin plug so that you can plug it into an existing socket. But there is a third option, because some people don't feel comfortable soldering to these wires attached to a decoder, and they might not feel comfortable or have the skill to add an 8-pin plug to one of these. So here's one of your options are. Companies like Digitrax and SoundTraxx and TCS and NCE all make these JST wiring harnesses with 8-pin plugs already attached. And you can purchase these if you go to the Streamline Backshop website. That's SBS4DCC.com, and do a search for JST. You will find a whole page of various types of these harnesses. And they're very easy to use. All you need to do, and this is an older decoder with the JST connector on it, all you have to do is grip the decoder here by the side of the board and then grab all of the wires in your thumb and forefinger and then just slowly pull it out. That's all there is to it. And then you can attach one of these JST harnesses that already has a plug attached. And then it's a simple matter to plug it in. You don't have to take the chance of destroying your circuit board. Now, why is that a concern? Well, a couple of years ago now, I was contacted by a fellow out in Sacramento, California, who had been destroying one decoder after another. And these were Tsunami 2 decoders. And the folks at SoundTraxx got concerned and arranged to have an electrical engineer, visit this guy and take a look at what was causing the problems, because he had gone through several of them that they'd had to replace. Well, it turned out he had one of those orange Weller soldering stations like I used to use and that I only use for soldering track now. And the problem was it had developed a problem in it, and it did not have inadequate ground. And so it was literally blowing the decoders when he was soldering the wires to them. Right after that, I stopped using my Weller soldering iron station and bought the blue hockey one that you've seen me use in other videos, because I know that one has a reliable ground built in. So that's one reason why you might want to consider what kind of soldering iron you're using and whether or not you want to solder directly to the wires or try to get a plug. Now, in addition to 8-pin plugs on these JSTs, you can also get 21-pin plugs as well. So if your locomotive already has an 8-pin or a 21-pin socket, you can purchase these 9-pin JST connectors and harnesses with the plugs already attached, and all you have to do is take the old one out, plug the new one in, and you're ready to go. Becomes a plug-and-play operation for you. Now, let me show you what is involved with these Blunamis. And this is also true for any of the SoundTraxx decoders that come with this type of format. Now, one thing I do want to point out about the Streamline Backshop website is, in addition to these 9-wire or 9-pin harnesses, there are also a bunch of 7-wire harnesses. So be aware of that. The one you want is the 9-wire, okay? So now let's look at this. On the decoder itself, and unfortunately I've already installed this decoder, and I don't want to pull it out of here, but I will give you an idea of how you can access the JST connector. And like I said, I talked to George Bogatuk at SoundTraxx about this, and he was perfectly okay with me sharing this with you. And it's something that they have not previously advertised, but it is an option. All you need to do is take your X-Acto knife blade and make a cut right across the top of the connector, just like this, so that you can access it, right through the white wrapper. Now, do not remove the wrapper itself. That is a violation of the warranty. But just cutting off this little piece here is going to allow you to gain access to the JST connector. And I'll see if I can get this off here. Now, let me go ahead and try to get the rest of this off of here. There we go. Okay, so what you can see here now, right here at the end of my forceps, is this JST connector. The green part here is the part that comes out. That is the part that is plugged in. This is the socket itself. So if I were to just ease this out, unfortunately I can't get in there because it's already installed. But it would be just like this. You could just easily get it out of there, replace it with one that does have a plug on it. Okay, I hope that is clear. If not, in the future, I guess I might do another follow-up video on how to do that. But it is very straightforward. And then it becomes a simple matter to ease this JST out, as long as it's not already installed in a locomotive like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and proceed with the rest of this installation. As you can see, I've already got the decoder installed here on the platform using the double-sided foam tape. Got the speaker in here and the speaker up here. I've run all my wires back, and using my Kapton tape, I've secured everything in place that's going to need to be there. If you put this together with two speakers and you don't get much sound out of it, try going back and swapping the connections, because you might have it out of phase. I did another video previously, a couple of years ago, on installing speakers, and I explained all this about speakers, so you might want to go back and take a look at that. If I can do it and have enough links left, I will add a link to that too. Now, so what I've done is this goes into the connection here on the speaker. That would be black, comes out the red. goes up to this speaker here, goes in on the black side, and then the red wire comes out and goes back and is attached here to the other purple wire at that side. So that's series wiring. And that will give you the approximately 1.5 watts for the speakers that these decoders like. And it will give you the 16 ohms of resistance or impedance that they also work best with. At this point then, I'm going to go ahead and get out my hockey well-grounded soldering iron and do the soldering to all of this off of the camera so that I can get it done a lot faster. Because I want to keep this video short. So I finished all the connections here. As you can see, I've got my red wires all bundled together here. The black one you can't see, it's all bundled and tucked under here, out of the way. So it's not going to interfere with anybody. The extra functions, the brown and the green here, I just put a piece of shrink tubing on those to protect the ends just in case. Same thing here. Shrink tubing on that one at the rear for those extra function leads. Other than that, as I said, I've got the orange and the red for the motor, the gray and the black for the motor, my function common here to the blue wire, and the yellow and the white wires are attached to the wires that go up to the LEDs for the headlight and the Mars light. So everything's all put together. The wires are all run, and it's nicely tucked away. These will just get put down like this, out of the way, and the body will be popped on, and I'll be ready to go. Well, that's a wrap for today's video. As soon as I wrap up here, I'm going to take this over, put it on my DCC programming track, and make sure it's going to work properly. And then on Monday, I'll be back with another video that shows you how this operates under standard DCC mode with a standard throttle, how it operates with the iOS, iPad, iPhone app to control the decoder wirelessly under DCC power, and also I'll show you how to control it using the app on a DC powered track. So come on back on Monday and see how this actually works. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday with part 2 of this video on how this works.